What's up, everybody? Shadow Gaming and Music here, and welcome back to more Great Ace Attorney adventures. And now we're picking up where we left off last time, where we're on section topic 2, whatever the heck you want to call it, of the part where we help Herlock Sholmes. I can't believe I messed that up. Well, we help him finish his deduction, so let's just get back into it right now. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. It can't be that simple, can it? Moving on, we come to the heart of the matter. The grim demise of the victim. Yeah. How did this young man lose his life, and why? According to the data of which I have been apprised, it would appear there were no visible signs of injury. In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by a terrible venom. Okay, that's the first part. The cats have no venom, so if the cat went over, so that can't happen. What Mr. Sholmes says is true. There were no signs of a wound anywhere on Kazuma-sama's body. That's right. But Mr. Sholmes seems to be unaware of one very important detail. Kazuma wasn't poisoned. Yes, it would seem so. Let's give him the information he's missing now. Did he not get the postmortem report?
Yes!
Let's go, Ryunosuke. Look at that smug look. In fact, the circumstances of the victim's death can only be explained by the postmortem report. Ha, yes. I knew it was one or the other. Of course you did. His neck was... Indeed, the breaking of the cervical vertebrae is fatal. Only that Goliath would be strong enough to survive that. I mean, he's doing... Seaman Stroganoff isn't some immortal freak, you know. I mean, he's doing really well with the snake on his face, so it would not shock me. The jury is out. Anyway, we have on good authority that the victim's neck was broken. Now, if we take that as fact. Spin. We can reasonably imagine that there remains evidence to affirm it at the scene of the crime. Oh no, could there be? Yes, an examination of the deceased body will prove the cause of death. What? Will prove the cause of death conclusively. Kazuma died because his neck was broken. In other words, he was probably struck by something, or someone. Yes, that's a distinct possibility. As of yet, no weapon has been found, though. Presumably, Darka didn't silently creep up behind Kazuma and deal him the fatal blow. I suppose it's possible that he had a fall and hit the ground awkwardly. I mean, that was one of my first thoughts, but really? It could have been a terrible act of misfortune that he broke his neck completely by accident. Oh yes. A bad fall could explain it. It's rather hard to believe of Kazuma-sama, though. He wasn't a clumsy man. Well, we need to fix this deduction somehow. Is there anything from the scene that could explain what happened? The only thing we have is this mark on the floor. We're missing half of whatever this thing is. The glass object, so it's possible the other half of the glass object is what hit him.
Yes!
The mark on the floor. Yes! An examination of the mark on the floor will prove the cause of death conclusively. And this particular mark, so prominently visible next to the victim's body, is a deposit of shoe polish. A shoe polish? Indeed, positively identified by a little analysis device I constructed, which I carry now as a matter of course. Are you sure the device works as intended? You didn't strike me as an inventor, though you do have those cool goggles, so... Maybe you're not just Sherlock Holmes, maybe you're also Nikola Tesla in this universe too. I don't even know if it's anywhere near the same era as Nikola Tesla. Beeswax, tallow, and dye were my results. The undeniable ingredients of shoe polish. Ryunosuke with the spin never gets tired. And the color of the polish is a perfect match to the color of Mr. Asogi's laced leather shoes. Looking at this mark, it's not hard to believe what happened. For some reason, Mr. Asogi must have caught his foot at that point on the floor and tripped. Please, no. And by a dreadful turn of misfortune, caught his neck against some immovable object as he fell to the floor. Suffering a fatal blow to the spine, the victim's vertebrae shattered, and in that instant, he lost his life. That still doesn't explain the ink on the floor. No! I don't know. I don't know anything about this. Is that really true, Miss Pavlova? Huh? The snap. What about the evidence left at the scene where Mr. Asogi lost his life? Yes, the facts are as clear as day to me. You did all you could to conceal the incriminating evidence. But now your involuntary glance betrays the hiding place you chose. Oh. That's right. You hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that traveling case. It's not in there. I don't believe it. Kazuma-sama merely tripped over and now he's no more? It can't be true. I refuse to accept it. I mean, I know it's hard to believe, but the mark on the floor does seem to suggest that's what happened. Are we really gonna go through this entire case and say that Kazuma died slipping on the floor? Really? That's where we're going with this? I'm like Susato. I don't believe it. Ace Attorney cases are never this clear cut. But, and if this part of Mr. Shom's deduction is right, Miss Pavlova's trying to hide some evidence that would prove it. Here in this cabin, somewhere in the direction that she just cast her eyes. Where, I wonder? Well, let's have a good look around. The answer must be here somewhere. The only thing that I can examine is the tiara. Is it really the tiara? There's no way it's the tiara, right? I mean, I can't examine anything except the tiara. So let's examine the tiara and see what we say about it. It's not missing any jewels or anything as far as I can tell. Ah! Somebody appears to have dropped 20,000 rubles here. It hasn't been dropped, Naruhodo-san. It's been placed. Same thing. Now, I'm starting to sound like Mr. Sholmes. He's contagious. The deductions are worming into your mind, Ryunosuke. Don't leave me here. I'm in hillbilly hell. My IQ's dropping by the second. I'm becoming one of them. I love that line from Cars. Stop trying to sound like the great detective. It's not the tiara. If I examine the case, this is where Miss Pavlova hid her friend. That's right. And it wasn't a snake after all. No, it was that little kitten she calls Darka. Not that it's anywhere to be seen now. It seems to have let itself out of the case and gone exploring. I expect it's wrapped itself around someone's head somewhere, trying to make a new friend. That's the snake. Either that, or it's scratching their hand to pieces. The point is, where has it got to? What am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? Garbage? Oh, there's something in there. This is a waste paper basket. Perhaps all the first class cabins have them. Are you saying there are cabins that have no garbage in them? But Miss Pavlova only started occupying this cabin late last night. Presumably, there's not much rubbish in there yet. Check it anyway. Oh. Oh, what's that? It's a broken piece of glass, isn't it? Yes, it is. And I feel like I've seen it somewhere before. If it looks familiar, perhaps it's more than your mind simply playing tricks on you.
Yes!
The evidence is in the garbage. You try to throw it away. That's right. You hid the evidence that links you to the victim's death in that wastepaper basket. Here we have a fragment of some intricate glass object, it would seem. One that has a familiar air, in fact. That was quick. Ryunosuke in there with the quickness. Precisely. We found another piece of broken glass on the floor in Mr. Asogi's cabin. And, as you can see, the two pieces fit together perfectly. Oh no! So, Miss Pavlova, shall we consider what this tells us? Why would it be that parts of this glass object, which was evidently broken at the scene of the victim's death, should be found in the wastepaper basket in your cabin? That is an excellent question. You're well acquainted with this glass bell, are you not? I don't. I don't know. In that hushed Russian accent of yours? Won't save you this time, dear girl. Why? Because we have conclusive evidence linking you to the bell in question. What? Take it away, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. The evidence linking Miss Pavlova and the little glass bell, that would be... Hold on. Let me look at this picture. Because I think I vaguely remember. It's on her cat's... It's on her cat's, leash, belt, whatever the hell it's called. I forgot. Collar! I'm so stupid. It's on her cat's collar.
Yes!
If you look at this photograph, you can clearly see, hanging from Darkest collar, the very glass bell in question. The truth has caught up with you, Miss Pavlova. The young man who lost his life last night did so after a truly inauspicious fall. And the cause of that fateful stumble? Your absent feline friend, Darka! I should have screamed. Whatever. Is that really what happened? That still doesn't explain the writing on the floor unless she somehow went in there and wrote his name in before the cabin locked itself on some kind of turbulence or something. But that also doesn't explain why everyone woke up with a headache. Why everyone was knocked out. So there's still some unanswered questions. This isn't the end of it. This episode is long, but there's no real good place to cut it. This is going to be an extra long episode of this time. I couldn't tell anyone. I'm sorry. Death by tripping over a cat. That sounds so pathetic, so sad. Elementary. This isn't over yet. That's not it. There's something else here. Why don't you tell us now, Miss Pavlova? Tell us exactly what happened last night. It was a little after 1 in the morning. It was so late, but I hadn't had time to feed Darka, so I gave her some food. And then, all of a sudden, she scratched me and jumped out of my hands. People do say that cats become very anxious and nervous in new environments. Hasanaga trying to make sense of it. She was so fast. She disappeared through the ventilator. before I could stop her. And that is how you acquired the nasty wound on the back of your hand, I take it. Yes. And I had read the rules on the wall. I knew that I was not allowed Darka with me. Yes. Modern science suggests that animals can carry infectious diseases. It's a precaution, really. So I listened and listened, trying to hear if there was some noise in the next cabin. It was very quiet. I was sure if someone was there, he must be sleeping. Sleeping. So at that point, you thought it safe to try to lure the kitten back again by dangling the end of the toy through the ventilator into the adjoining cabin. Darka always loved this toy, but it didn't work. Nothing worked. I tried using her favorite toy. I tried whistling to her softly, but nothing. She didn't return. So the faint whistling sound Cosmo wrote about in his diary was Miss Pavlova trying to retrieve her pet. Okay, now this is giving me weird vibes, if only because now it seems like the order of things is differently. Because she said she waited until there was no noise on the other side, so she assumed the other person was sleeping. So she started whistling and she put the toy over. And Cosmo saw that. So that means there was no noise at the time. That means he had to have died after that. So that means it couldn't have been the cat, if that's the case. Cats have a propensity to remain hidden in the shadows when frightened. There's just something about the order of events and the way things are playing out that Nicolina's saying that just doesn't sit right with me. Yes, so there was nothing else I could do. I just had to wait until she had calmed down. But then... okay, now the order of events makes sense. I nearly passed out with shock. I heard her cry out and then... It was such a dreadful bang. Then afterwards, nothing. It was totally silent. Cosmo was... From the appearance of the brown mark on the floor, it seems likely that what you heard was the victim stepping on the glass bell and tripping up. Then how did she get the other half, though? That's what I want to know. There's still a piece that's missing here. The SS Buria is a large vessel, but even she can pitch and roll violently without warning. If Mr. Asuki was already off balance as a result of the ship lurching when the kitten got under his feet, the combination of unfortunate factors could easily have caused him to fall over. But what became of the kitten afterwards? Did it come back? In the end, I managed to get her to come back through the ventilator. Right, because the cat was there when we went to see her the first time when she was still wearing the disguise. It wasn't until after she got taken out of the room that the cat came out of her trunk. Yet Daika is nowhere to be seen. I must have forgotten to lock my case. And now she's disappeared again. Gracious. That cat is as insufferably restless as I am. Well, he knows something about himself at least. he admitted to being insufferable, so. Then I woke this morning. I heard that a young man in the cabin next to mine had died. But I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone what had happened. So she was willing to let us take the fall to protect her cat. You know what? I'm not even mad. I get it. But still. I was too scared. Scared that they would send me back. Oh. Hold on a minute. What about the snake? You're right. Where is it? If the snake isn't your friend, Miss Pavlova, then whose is it? And where did it come from? What on earth is such a dangerous creature doing on board this ship? Stroganoff has made friends with it. Look, he's petting it. It's so cute and he's smiling while he's doing it. Oh, I didn't say. Snake is my friend. His name is Piroshko. Huh? What? What? That snake belongs to you? He escaped from cage when the emergency alarm sounded. I was looking for him. I did not expect to find him in here. Yes. How did that snake get into this cabin? But animals are not permitted on board. Ha! We are at sea for 1 year. You want to be so long without close friend? Without someone who understands? Couldn't you find someone a little more human who understands you better? Hey, Ryunosuke, finding someone who understands you is hard, alright? Not all of us have a Susato next to us, alright? You're lucky. But, my dear belly fellow, a gargantuan venomous snake? Surely you can appreciate the danger you're putting everyone in. No venom. Piroshko does not have venom. He is harmless. Very long, but very gentle. He is adorable, like Granny. Aww, that's adorable. He compared his granny to a snake. It's venomless? Yes, now he is hungry, so he is in bad mood. But once I feed him, you will see big smile. And you feed him what? Milk, I suppose? We just went over this, Ryunosuke. He doesn't drink milk. Ha! Like they say they milk chickens? Ridiculous. Snakes that drink milk are only in stupid stories. Piroshko eat mouses. Big, fat, round mouses. Ah. Oh, so... is that what the mousetrap in the passageway out there is for? Of course. How else can I catch my friend's favorite food? Nothing says top of the food chain like the look in their eyes right now. It refuses to drink milk. It can't hear a whistle. Can't climb up a bell cord. And it's not even venomous. How the deuce did something so end up land a starring role? It's not my fault. I do not make up stories. My Piroshko has nothing to do with the incident. Everyone's losing their minds, man. We've been on this ship for too long. So that's what happened. That's the truth behind my best friend's tragic death. There's something we're missing. Please, someone bring it up. No one's saying anything. Miss Pavlova. Susato. Anyone? Miss Pavlova? Thank you. Someone broke the silence. I understand the difficult situation you found yourself in, and I do sympathize, but please remember this. A young man lost his life. If you're going to attempt to cover up your guilt with lies, then no matter what the circumstances, I cannot forgive you. Susato, you know, I get where you're coming from, Susato. I really do. But at the same time, it's an accident and she has her own circumstances. At the very least, you can try to understand her, you know? But what are you talking about, Miss Mikotoba? What lies? Miss Pavlova just confessed everything. It was just a series of unfortunate events. An accident. I still don't believe it. I'm no great detective like Mr. Sholmes. I don't have a gift for knowing the truth. I mean, he doesn't either, as we just saw. But even I can see that was not the truth. Don't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I do. To be perfectly honest, yes. There's a discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story. I'm sure of it, I just can't quite put my finger on it. I confess, I was intending to let Scotland Yard deal with any outstanding issues on this matter. Oh. I am only present here for a very specific reason. The truth is, you, Mr. Naruhodo, are simply a distraction. Well, you're the one that put your nose in it. A distraction? I do hope you've not been finding your shackles too uncomfortable. Man! Now what? Not again? When did he do that? Especially as they're on your wrist as a result of my intervention. I was rather hoping I could resolve matters before we made our next port call. You were, Mr. Sholmes? Yes, but I overlooked one important detail. The deceased young man was a very close companion of yours. Was he not? Yes, he was my best friend. What about it? Yes. Kazuma was my closest friend. I owed him my freedom even. Sato. In that case, we must follow this to its conclusion. We really do. No further distractions. You must uncover the real truth here, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, whatever that may be. The key to this is the discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story, I'm sure. If I can chase that down, maybe the truth will become clear. The truth about how you really died. About how that scene in your cabin really came to be. Alright, I'll see what I can do. Newfound determination by Ryunosuke. I like it. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm sorry, Nicolina, but we have to get through this for the truth's sake. So then, shall we begin? Yes! What we should ponder first is the victim who lost his life in a cabin that was bolted shut from the inside. Was this truly an unfortunate accident, or was it in fact no accident at all? That is what we must establish in the first instance. But we've already established it, haven't we? The man tripped over the kitten that had climbed into his cabin via the ventilator. Tragic, yes, but still an accident.
Hold it!
Hosonaga, oh, there's a hold it. Ryunosuke, wait, let's just take a step back. It doesn't make sense if that's really what happened, does it? I'm going to have to ask you to spell it out for me, I'm afraid. Yes, it's starting to take shape now. There's a clear contradiction between the facts and Miss Pavlova's story here. The evidence is right here in Kazuma's cabin. It's undeniable. His death couldn't possibly have been a mere accident. Oh, but really? Let us show our hand, Mr. Naruhodo. Time to present the evidence. The evidence that proves unequivocally that the victim's death was no mere accident. It was the photograph. It's the freaking thing I've been saying this entire time. There's words written there.
Yes!
The truth is clearly recorded in this photographic print. There's no way that Mr. Asuki could have left this message on the floor. That script. It's Russian, isn't it? Indeed it is. The word written means wardrobe. I see what you mean. Most people would leave a dying message in their native language. Japanese in this case. But maybe he was studying Russian. It is a simple language. He could have picked it up very fast. That doesn't seem likely. That's actually not the point. It makes no difference whether he knew Russian or not. Sorry? What do you mean? Exactly what I said before. There's no way that Mr. Asuki could have left this message on the floor. And the reason why is clearly explained in here. Damage to the cervical vertebrae resulting in instant death. Instant death. Oh. That means he didn't write that message, which of course he didn't! They never do! Which means, after the victim fell to the floor, he couldn't possibly have written anything. Because he was already dead. Huh? That's not the only reason either. There's something else we found in Mr. Asugi's cabin. A remnant of something that couldn't possibly have been there if what Miss Pavlova told us was true. What? So Sato-san has noticed it too then. Putting this message on the floor aside, there's something else that gives the truth away. Another piece of evidence that proves that this was no mere accident. In other words, that's not the only reason here. There's nothing else we found in his cabin. A remnant of something that couldn't have possibly been there if Miss Pavlova said was true. Would it be the diary? Or is it the thing? I'm not entirely sure. We found something in his room. It has to be the diary, right? Nothing else makes sense.
Yes.
What point are you trying to make with that evidence? I think I was wrong. I'm starting to see how Kazuma's death really happened. I think. So, that you are starting to see nothing of the sort, and that was the evidence to God damn it. Ugh. Alright, so it wasn't that. Alright, so I'm missing something here. What should we be looking for is one of two things. Either the absence of something you would expect to find at the scene of the accident, or the presence of something you wouldn't. My dear madam. I see. Okay, are we talking about the second half of the thing? I confess your rather languid IC doesn't fill me with confidence. Don't worry, Mr. Naruhodo, I believe in you, well. More than Mr. Sholmes does it anyway. Thanks. Alright, it's starting to take shape now. There's a clear contradiction between the facts and Miss Pavlova's story here. The evidence is right here in Kazuma's cabin. It's undeniable. The other half of the thing.
Yes.
It has to be the other half. Okay, that's what I was missing. I questioned it earlier, but I guess it didn't cross my mind. This piece of broken glass next to the mark on the floor. But that's the glass bell the kitten had around its neck. We already knew all about that. It was broken in half when the victim tripped over the cat and fell. Yes, but why is only half of it there and the other half is in her garbage? So, we already have a satisfactory explanation. Where's the flaw in that logic? Unfortunately, there's a very big flaw. A fatal flaw. What? That's really what happened. Then how did one half of the bell end up back here in this cabin? Oh. Yes, remember that we found the other half of the glass bell in that wastepaper basket? Would you care to explain that, Miss Pavlova? Oh no. Both of these pieces of evidence clearly point to the same conclusion. That when Mr. Asugi died last night in his cabin, there was someone else in the room. And that same person deliberately arranged the scene to disguise the truth in order to cover up his or her own guilt. Did you really do it, Nicolina? Yes. There was someone else present in Mr. Asugi's... You're wasting time! Someone else was there? Da, of course! We know this! What are you talking about? He still thinks it's us. Bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. There was no way in or out. Oh, yes. Hold on. Okay, I thought something happened. Never mind. Oh, yes. And only other person in cabin when young student died was you.
Yes.
No, stop saying yes as your response. It's true. I was in the cabin when it happened. You were shut inside the cabin wardrobe, to be precise about the details. But I don't know Russian. There's no way I could have left that message. Not would have. There's no way you could have. Oh, that is what Ryunosuke said. My bad. There's no way I would have sent that message. Not would have. There's no way you could have left that message, to be precise about the details. Thanks, Sholmes. Would you mind? Forgive me, my dear fellow. As I was saying, the person in question wrote the word wardrobe in Russian on the floor. In an attempt to incriminate me for the crime, even though I had been asleep in there the entire time. And then, the same person picked up the broken glass bell that had fallen to the floor, for fear of it becoming evidence that would show how Mr. Asogi really died. But why wouldn't this person have taken all the pieces of the bell anyway? Leaving half behind was always going to raise questions. Yes, well, it was past 1 o'clock in the early hours of the morning. The cabin would have been quite dark. A single small lamp suspended from the ceiling would barely have cast any light onto the floor there. Little wonder, then, that the culprit failed to notice a fragment of the tiny item. You all suspect me, don't you? Oh, hey, you're so that's what the marks on his face are. They're from the snake. It all makes sense now. Seaman Stroganoff. He doesn't have the snake on his face anymore. Now it all makes sense. Nina is woman of sea. She is daughter of strong sailor. Huh? 2 years ago, they noticed her dancing skills, and she went away to join ballet company. So she used to sail on this ship, and then she went to do ballet. But before, she was dancer on this ship, a member of ship's band. Aww, she was a dancer here. You do not accuse ship's angel of being criminal. Ah, so that's it. You say that when young student died, Nina was there in this cabin. But that is not possible. I give my tooth. Well, this is all most interesting. It is. I can't find a good place to stop because there's so much happening. And why would you give your tooth, pray? How can you be so sure? You are a great detective. You should know. Look truth in eyes. Cabin bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. Nobody could go into cabin. Not Nina, not anyone. Or you want to tell me that killer can walk through locked doors? Niet. It's impossible. He's right. Come on, we saw something. When the ship tipped over, we have evidence that someone could have gone in there. But wait, I've read about this in detective stories. People often tie a thread around door latches so they can open and close them from the outside. We already established that can't happen. Thread? Are you stupid? Hey! Don't call Susato stupid, you asshole. I will probably get my ass beat on you, but I will try to beat your ass. These bulkheads are not barn doors. Certainly not. These are watertight doors, as one would expect to find on any modern steamship. Constructed of heavy steel and not a gap in sight. No threads or needles or magnets could have been used. No, of course not. I thought so too. But Mr. Naruhodo suggested it earlier, so... Susato-san, how could you shift it onto me like that? So, Seaman Stroganoff has a valid point. The cabin door couldn't have been bolted shut from the outside. Yes, it could have! Not necessarily. What? I put it to you that I could bolt this cabin door without laying a finger on it. And in this very cabin, we can see the traces of the method I have in mind having been used before. I don't believe it. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, I believe you know what I mean, don't you? A way to shut the bolts of the cabin door from the outside. One way does spring to mind, yes. Do you really know what Mr. Sholmes means, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, and so should you. Because we've seen it happen. Indeed we have. So, would you care to do the honors, Mr. Naruhodo? Point out the telling signs of the method that was used to slide the cabin door bolts across from the outside. Okay, so it's not gonna point me, but it's the bookcase. It has to be the bookcase. Look at the bookcase there. See how all the books and things on it have toppled over? That must have happened when the ship made its emergency stop before. Yes, that's right. It's a very powerful vessel after all. When the engines are thrown into reverse, a violent jolt goes across the entire ship. Any small objects that aren't fastened down are bound to fall over. I believe, yes, it's what's known as the force of inertia, acting on the objects. Oh, we know that much science at least. Is there nothing Susato-san doesn't know? Or that isn't in her book at least? Well, she has a lot of knowledge. Kudos to her. Well, whatever it's called, the same force that pushed over those books on the bookcase also made something else in this cabin move. The bolt on the cabin door. Ah! It was very obvious just after the emergency stop that the ship made earlier. We had come into this cabin not long before and we hadn't bolted the door. But then... Hello, is anybody in there? Shout if you need assistance! Oh, that sounds like... Inspector Hosonaga! Yep, and the door was locked. Oh yes! That's it! When the ship stopped suddenly, the bolt flew across and locked the door! Yes, it's made of metal, but it's small and light enough to be moved by the ship's sudden change of speed. Or the force of inertia, if you want to call it that. Are you trying to say that last night, after Mr. Asogi was killed, Mr. Asogi was killed? Yep. The ship came to a stop at some point. The SS Borea made another emergency stop? When I woke up this morning and looked around the cabin, I thought it looked a little odd. All the books on the shelves had toppled over, and all the ornaments. It was almost as if someone had run their hand across the shelves and deliberately knocked everything over. Oh yes, I remember that. And I stood them all up again, didn't I? Then we came into this cabin. We were surprised to see the same thing in here. All the books and everything had toppled over, just like Mr. Asogi's cabin. Oh my! Do you have anything to say about this, Miss Pavlova? Are you out of your mind? You say Borea made emergency stop? It does seem a little far-fetched. How could that possibly have happened? Unless you're saying that the culprit is actually someone from the engine room. That's exactly what I'm saying. Oh, it is simple enough. Are you forgetting the button in the passageway outside? Used to trigger the emergency alarm? Oh yes, of course! There was a notice, wasn't there? Telling you only to press the button in times of emergency. On dark nights when the fog is dense, the captain cannot afford to rely on the eyes of his lookout alone. Hence, the placement of a number of buttons around the vessel to allow any crewman to raise the alarm. The sort of button one is almost compelled to press to satisfy one's curiosity. Shut up, Dee Dee. What does this button do? Wait, it was you? When the button is pressed, two things happen in the interest of safety. The emergency alarm bell rings, and the vessel comes to a complete stop. As indeed it did a little earlier today. And everyone's speechless once again. Someone say something. Mr. Sholmes? Surely it wasn't you who... As I always say, A button has but one purpose in life. To be pressed, whatever the occasion. Sholmes, did you really press the damn thing? He sounds almost proud of himself. How dare you mess with ship? I report you to Captain. You are in much trouble now. Now, I'm sure all that can wait until later. Let us not overlook the fact that we have now learnt a valuable lesson. When the vessel makes an emergency stop, the bolts on the cabin door slide closed. So, what we must now consider... Yes, it all comes down to one thing now. Last night, after what happened to Mr. Asogi, did this ship make an emergency stop, or did it not? You are idiots! Buri is a huge ship with many passengers. If we make an emergency stop even in the middle of night, there would be chaos everywhere. That is true. What are your thoughts, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, it's certainly possible that some kind of emergency happened last night. We have evidence to support that idea. Really? What evidence, Mr. Naruhodo? Fascinating. Do show us, my good man. What evidence promotes the theory that some emergency gripped this vessel last night? The fact that the logbook.
Yes!
There were no entries after 2 a.m. Seaman Stroganoff, it's your duty to patrol the first-class area of the ship, isn't that right? Da, that is correct. Why? And the ship's log here. This would be where you record the details of your duties. What are you doing? What are you doing with that? That is mine! Ah, you rather carelessly left it atop the little makeshift bureau in the passageway out there. But, as responsible passengers, we took it into our care with the mind to return it to you later. I left it there on purpose! That is where I always put it! The point is, looking at what you usually record, it's clear that under normal circumstances you write the phrase, "Nothing to report," every 30 minutes. God damn it, he doesn't leave me alone. But from 2 o'clock last night until first light this morning, nothing was recorded at all. Nothing recorded in the log? That is... Duh! Because nothing happened! But if nothing happened, you would normally write nothing to report, wouldn't you? Stroganoff, what are you hiding? Indeed so. Which tells us that shortly after 2 a.m., something happened. Here aboard the SS Berdia. Something sufficiently significant to make you forget to fill in the ship's log, in fact. Are you suggesting that the ship really did make an emergency stop in the middle of the night? Stop talking rubbish! Why are you so defensive, huh? What's going on with you? If I'm perfectly honest, I find that a little hard to believe myself. Oh? Why? Well, because if something as major as an emergency stop really had happened, surely all of us would have noticed. That's very true. Thanks to the emergency stop we experienced earlier, we all know what it feels like now. The ship lurched so violently, and the alarm bell was so loud. I can't imagine anybody would sleep through that, even if it did happen in the dead of night. Well, no, that's a good point. Come on, guys, the headaches! You all had headaches! There's something in common here! But of the throbbing. Thank you! Finally, someone! Someone brought it up. Oh, this has been going on for so long. I'm a little scared to end it now because I don't know how close I am. Because it feels like we're on the cusp of a breakthrough. It really feels like we're on the cusp of a breakthrough. But I've been going for so long, I feel like I have to end it here. So we'll see what happens the next time. But things are starting to get good. So I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am. Please let me know in the comments, and obviously if you like this video. Excuse me. Like this video if you like it, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of this, and stay tuned next time for more great Ace Attorney adventures. But until then, this is Shadow Gaming and Music, and be happy, be healthy. I fucked up my intro. Be happy, be safe, be healthy, and good night, everybody. Oh, this is getting good.